In the Gulf region, extreme environmental conditions are highly visible. Outside, intense heat and swirling dust storms dominate the landscape. Inside, sealed, air-conditioned living spaces feel pristine and safe. But cities like Riyadh and Kuwait sit directly inside a major natural dust transport corridor. When you combine that continuous flow of desert sand with heavy human emissions from vehicles, construction, and industry, the result is a persistent, year-round layer of pollution. The World Health Organization sets a safe annual guideline for fine particulate matter at just 5 micrograms per cubic meter. But regional averages in Saudi Arabia and Kuwait consistently sit between 25 and 60 micrograms, an exposure level several times higher than the recommended limit. The threat comes from a specific type of particulate known as PM2.5. These microscopic airborne pollutants are smaller than 2.5 microns in diameter. Because they are roughly 3 times smaller than a single human hair, they are entirely invisible. When you are outside in this environment, your body attempts to block these particles. But because the PM2.5 is so exceptionally fine and the geographical exposure is so extreme, your normal respiratory defense systems simply cannot catch them. To escape the heat and the visible dust, residents retreat inside to sealed buildings. This creates a powerful illusion of safety. Central air conditioning cools the home, but it mechanically forces moisture out of the air. This plunges indoor relative humidity down to an artificial 15 to 20%. This severe drop in humidity dries out your nasal passages. Without a moist layer of mucus and active cilia, the tiny hair-like structures that naturally sweep debris out of your airway, your body's first line of respiratory defense cracks and becomes completely ineffective. By artificially drawing the indoor air, AC environments eliminate the body's only window for recovery. This ensures that the biological inflammation continues around the clock, effectively making indoor exposure a persistent extension of the outdoor environment. With the upper respiratory filters disabled, the microscopic PM2.5 particles travel completely unchallenged down the windpipe and deep into the lower lungs. They eventually settle inside the alveoli. The alveoli are the microscopic air sacs at the end of your lung branches, where your body exchanges incoming oxygen for outgoing carbon dioxide. Your immune system attempts to fight off these foreign invaders by triggering a mild inflammatory response. Normally, if you had a break from the pollution indoors, your body would clear the particles. But because the dry indoor air offers no recovery time, the inflammation never stops. It becomes an unwinnable war of attrition. This continuous inflammation eventually destroys the delicate cells lining the air sacs. The structural wall fails, allowing the trapped pollutants to cross directly into your vascular system. The particles have successfully bypassed your geographical location, your home's architecture, and your own biological borders, gaining unfettered access to your internal transport network. Now that they are inside the bloodstream, the PM2.5 particles circulate outward, reaching every part of the 30 trillion cells that make up the human body. Regenerative cells, like skin, replace themselves in days. Vital organs are built from non-regenerative, permanent cells, like brain neurons and heart tissue, which cannot be replaced. PM2.5 damages both. Because permanent cells cannot heal, this scarring is irreversible. The damage accumulates every single day. The human heart acts as an engine of distribution, relentlessly pumping approximately 7,000 liters of this particulate-laden blood to every vital organ on a daily basis. As that polluted blood flows through the heart itself, it takes a heavy toll. 99% of cardiac muscle cells are permanent. The daily circulation of particles causes progressive physical scarring on these tissues, inevitably leading to a higher risk of heart attacks. When the particles reach the brain and spinal cord, they scar the permanent neuron pathways. This continuous degradation can lead to severe neurological decline, including partial paralysis and the onset of dementia. The body's primary filters also suffer systemic toxicity. As the lungs, liver, and kidneys constantly process the heavy particulate load, they sustain severe long-term organ damage, drastically elevating the risk of cancer. In the reproductive organs, the particles trigger inflammation and the formation of microclots. This stiffens and narrows the incredibly small blood vessels in the area, creating a vascular bottleneck that restricts oxygen flow and directly causes erectile dysfunction. Every one of these conditions, dementia, heart disease, organ failure, and erectile dysfunction, stems from the same systemic crisis of irreversible microvascular damage. This dynamic is uniquely dangerous for children. Because children breathe faster and inhale more air per kilogram of body weight than adults, they absorb a proportionally higher dose of airborne pollutants right from birth. These circulating particles infiltrate the child's brain, heart, and lungs while they are still in a critical, highly active phase of development. The irreversible scarring of permanent cells acts as a physical barrier to growth. It forces incomplete organ development, permanently stunting the child's physical capacity before they even reach adulthood. The threat is a matter of relentless math. Because the air conditioning strips the indoor humidity, your biological defenses fail. Exposure to the regional dust continues 24 hours a day. The lungs have zero chance to recover, and the irreversible damage to your cells increments steadily and silently every single day of your life.